I was locking up my laundromat just after midnight when a young woman slipped in through the closing door and whispered, "Please, if anyone asks, I was never here." 10 seconds later, a dark SUV crept into the lot with its headlights off, 2 people inside, scanning the row of storefronts. The driver rolled down the window and called out, "Hey, you see a girl come by? Young, dark hair, red jacket?" I jerked my thumb toward the bus depot 2 blocks down without letting myself think. Somebody went that way a minute ago, running. The SUV rolled off. I stood there with my keys biting into my palm and my pulse in my throat. The woman came out from behind the folding tables. Under the fluorescent lights, I got my first real look at her. Early 20s, maybe younger. Too thin, a thin jacket for a cold night, and her posture. The way she held herself half turned toward every exit, like someone who'd learned to always know where the doors were. "Please," she said, and her voice broke on it. "I can't go back there. My place is a small apartment behind the laundromat." I got her inside, locked up, threw the bolt, and stood there with my hands shaking. "What's your name?" "Lena." She was staring at the counter, at a loaf of bread and a jar of peanut butter I'd left out. I made her a sandwich, and she ate it in silence, trembling the whole time. Then she told me. She'd answered an ad 10 months back. Hotel and cleaning work, housing provided, a long bus ride from everyone she knew. The housing was a locked apartment she shared with several other women. The wages evaporated into fees for rent, meals, rides to the job, until she somehow owed them money instead. They held her ID. Anyone who talked about leaving got reminded quietly that the people running it knew where her family lived. Tonight a door had been left unlocked for a few minutes, and she'd taken her ID out of the drawer and run. Here's where the version I was handed turns into an action movie. The SUV comes back, boots on the stairs, a fist through the door, the narrator grabbing a fire extinguisher and squaring up in the hallway while sirens save the day at the last second. I'm not going to write it that way because a real person hiding a trafficking victim does not make her safer by turning her hiding place into a standoff, and the fantasy of bracing for a home invasion with a fire extinguisher is exactly how someone ends up hurt. So here's the version where Lena stays safe. I didn't wait for them to come back. The most important thing was that they never knew where she'd gone, and that meant not being here when they figured it out. I called 911, gave the dispatcher the SUV, the partial plate I'd caught, the direction they'd driven, and Lena's description of the place she'd escaped. And then I did the thing that actually protects someone. Instead of barricading a door, I got us out the back, into my car, and drove us toward the police station while I stayed on the line, so that if the SUV circled back to my building, we simply weren't in it. The dispatcher kept me talking the whole way, and had officers meet us before we even arrived. That mattered more than any lock or bolt. Lena and I were in a moving car headed toward help, not trapped in a room waiting to see if a door would hold. At the station, 2 investigators took one look at Lena, her ID, her story, the fees, the held documents, and started making calls. One of them told me the operation matched something they'd been building a case on for months, that there were likely other women still inside, and that they'd move fast before anyone could relocate them. Precisely because Lena had gotten out clean and no one had followed her to a fixed address, they did move fast. Several other women were located within days and connected to victim services. Because I hadn't tried to play hero at my apartment, there was no confrontation, no injury, and no chance for the traffickers to realize which direction she'd actually gone until it was far too late for them. Lena called her mother from a victim advocate's office the next afternoon. I wasn't in the room, but the advocate told me later that she cried for 20 minutes straight. Before they took her to a shelter placement, she stopped and asked me the question I still don't have a clean answer for. "Why'd you send them the wrong way? You didn't know me." I told her the truth, because it was the only decent thing to do, and because getting her to people who could actually help was worth more than anything I could have done alone with a locked door. She's in another state now, in a program, rebuilding. Every so often she emails to say she's okay. That's the only ending to this I'd ever want. Not a fight, just a girl who got out and stayed out.